Lessons from history. I've got a book here. It's just randomly taken off my shelves. Georgiana, talking about the Duchess of Devonshire, the forebear of Lady Diana Spencer. Georgiana Spencer, her name was, Duchess of Devonshire. Now, that was a very interesting time in world history. It was a time of tumult. It was the time of the French Revolution. What are the lessons that we can learn from that period? Of course, Georgiana was cavorting with various men, including Charles James Fox. We'll study some of these characters, but I want to focus on the French Revolution because something happened then, a seismic shock happened in Western civilization that we're still living through today. The knock-on effect when an event happens in history is that the tectonic plates shift and something else happens and the next thing follows on. But what happened and what preceded the French Revolution is very much with us today, and it was a philosophy of revolution, and it was atheistic. We saw emerging from the time of John Locke, who was the son of a Puritan, came from Puritan stock, what has been termed romanticism, a sort of idealistic, man-centered philosophy. They call it liberal, and yet it has led to incredible illiberalism as a result. So John Locke, who influenced Rousseau in France, started to codify a man-centered religion, which I would call atheism. And it has emerged in various forms and spawned, various adherents who have written multitudinous books on the subject of how man can get on without God. Rousseau came from a religious background. He had a troubled childhood. He wrote prolifically. He influenced Hobbes, he influenced Paine, he influenced those who wanted to create a liberal society, not only in France, but in other parts of the world, including the US. But in France, taking God out of the picture, and of course, we're mindful of how those who profess to be Christians and those who profess God's name have been nothing of the sort. They haven't been Christian, they haven't followed New Testament models, they've just followed their own variation of a man-centered model. But Rousseau codified it, and then Western humanistic philosophy emerged from it. And the essence of it is this, that Adam is not a reference point, and the sin of Adam is not a reference point. And those who have followed Adam and his seed are not born sinful. They're not born with any original sin or a variation of original sin. They are innately good, or as John Locke would have said, they're just a blank sheet to be written on. Now, that is a philosophical viewpoint that can be unpacked. It's certainly in the subsequent centuries. You can say, where has it led us? The contention of Scripture is that we're sinful, that God came to redeem us, that we are reaching a climax of history, that everything is pointing towards an end. The humanistic worldview is everything is going upwards and onwards. Things are only going to get better, as Tony Blair once sung at his first election. This is the ethos of the French Revolution. Well, as we know, it led to the Reign of Terror, and within a few short decades, it led to the tyranny of Napoleon and dictatorship. And yet, in various guises, it's re-emerged. It's a philosophy of revolution. It's a philosophy of building, as it were, heaven on earth without any help from heaven. That we can create some idealistic Marxist vision of equality, fraternity, equality. It's a wonderful ideal, but if you take God out of the picture, if you take the reference point of what is right and wrong, of what is holy and pure, of righteousness and righteous law, then you will end with what has actually transpired: bloodshed, tyranny, destruction of life and hearts. So French Revolution, lesson from history, don't look to man for your future.